Hello and welcome back to Viewer's Choice. So today's episode was also submitted to me via Instagram. If you're interested in having a topic spoken about on Viewer's Choice, DM me on Instagram or respond to any of the polls that I put out, and I'll be sure to talk to the topic that you submit. Today's topic is about authenticity and comparison. And when I got this one, I did do a mini kind of fist pump. I was like, yay! Because I think it's really important. Not to say that it doesn't happen for men. I can only talk from a female's perspective. And I think growing up, I got 4 older brothers. So, not that anybody ever said it to me, but there was always a vibe of like other girls or women are your competition. So there was always kind of that, like, I don't know, like a little bit of an undertone there that they're kind of like your competition, which they're not. So I kind of grew up with that kind of in the background, if you like. And then I think as I went into the workforce, I just saw it play out. I saw that theory play out a lot, not in all workplaces that I worked in, but in some. And I thought, oh, that's interesting, and kind of didn't pay it any mind. And I don't really pay it too much mind. I think that comparison, what is it they say? Comparison is the thief of all joy. So I don't, and I try really hard to make sure that I don't compare myself, because I think everybody's chapter 1, page 1 starts at a different place, and that's what makes us all so unique and so different, which is pretty cool. So I don't really compare. I do look at what people do and what people have achieved, if it aligns with like what I want to do and what I want to achieve. And I kind of look at, I wonder what steps they took to get there. I wonder how they did that, or wonder why. And I'll engage in those kind of thought processes and conversations with people when I get the chance. But I don't really compare and, you've got that, I don't have that, why don't I have that, what I have is better than you. Like, I'm not really about those vibes. I've never really been about those vibes. I think if you are struggling with comparison, I'd probably ask myself, well, where does that come from? Why do you feel like you have to compare yourself to other people? And that's probably the place that I would start from. Because it is the thief of joy. If you're constantly looking at what someone else is doing, keeping up with the Joneses, who are the Joneses, then you're kind of gonna have this, like, I don't know, I call it like dread, like where your heart just doesn't feel settled. You're always gonna have that if you're always looking over your shoulder at what other people have. I think it's good to look at people if you want to be motivated, but if you're looking and comparing and it makes you feel bad about yourself, I try and look at maybe where that's coming from, and if therapy is the right thing for you, or talking to a friend or a family member. That's probably where I would start, because I just think it's not healthy for you. So that's probably where I would start. And I think the best way, once you if there's any like childhood trauma or anything that you need to deal with, let's kind of park that aside and assume that there's not. But I think one way to move beyond comparison is to just authentically be yourself, like genuinely. Again, I know it sounds a bit hippie, a bit of a hippie, but no one is you. No one is you. No one can do what you do the way that you do it, and that's pretty special. So I would lean into that. Lean into your authenticity, continue to be your authentic self, and the only competition you should really have is with yourself, wanting to be the best version of yourself, better than yourself last week, last month, last year, and improving in that space. And surround yourself with people that help you grow, develop, and become the better version of yourself. I never want to be the smartest, the kindest, the funniest, the richest person in the room. Like, I don't want to be that. I want to surround myself with people that motivate me to level up, that motivates me to be like, whoa, what? How do you do this? What's that? I didn't know about that. I didn't know about this. Because for me, I want to learn from people. So I don't compare myself to them. I look at that as an opportunity to learn, and they'll learn from me. And I always say to Ahmed that I don't collect things, I collect people. And I have such a, is it eclectic? Is that the word? Collection of friends that on paper, we wouldn't be friends. Like, I'd say 99.9% of my friends are people that if you looked at them on paper and me on paper, you'd never put us as friends. But that's kind of not, it's kind of intentional and kind of not. Because I just gravitate towards people that are different to me because I want to learn. If you're really similar to me, you've got similar life experiences, all of those things, I just think, not that I don't have lots to learn from you because we can all learn from people, but I feel like I've got less to learn from you because you're familiar. Like I want to engage with somebody who's, I don't know, maybe went to private school or boarding school, or I want to engage with somebody who wasn't a teenage parent and maybe had kids in their 40s and just did things the other way around to what I did. Like I want to learn from that, and I want to learn from their experiences, and I surround myself with people that fill up my cup. So that's the other thing. If you're surrounding yourself with people that they're comparing themselves to you and it's making you feel a certain way, or just being around them makes you compare yourself to them, ask yourself, are you in the right room? Like, are you in the right room? I think it's always a good question to ask yourself, because the fact that you've asked it as a question, again, I've assumed that this is something that maybe you're struggling with. So I've kind of answered it on that approach. I suppose if you're in a situation where other people are comparing you to somebody else, I don't know, what would I do? And it's hard because now I'm an old woman, do you know what I mean? I'm in my 40s, so now I would say, I don't know, I suppose in a way I'd bond with the other person that's being compared to me, and I would verbally recognise their skills, their expertise, their experience, and the thing that the other person is like pitting us against each other, I'd verbally say, like I'd say to her like, oh my god, you do this, or you've got that, or you approach this with so much kindness, or blah 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 blah. I would name the things that the person is telling me that they're good at or that they're better than me at. Does that make sense? Because then I'm disarming you. I'm agreeing with you. Okay, yeah, that person has this or does this, or like it's now just a conversation. Yep, they do that, and your view is that they do it better than me. I wouldn't say this, but internally I'd be thinking, okay, your view is that they do it better than me. This is now a conversation if I say, oh my god, you're so good at that. But the fact that the person thinks they're better than you at that thing, again, is their opinion. So again, someone else's opinion ain't none of my business. Do you know what I mean? Like, as long as it's like I'm doing my job and I'm able to do my job and I'm competent at doing my job, as long as it's not like a staff underperformance thing, as in they're saying, oh, you're not good at your job, because that's different vibes. But if it's just in general, or it's on social media where you're looking at somebody and you're comparing yourself, like, don't do it. Genuinely, take it from an old woman that's, you know, sipping on a cup of tea with her Notorious B.I.G. Just don't do it. Like, legit, it doesn't serve you, and it's easy for me to say as an old woman supported by Notorious that don't do it, it's not worth it. Like, it's easy to say that. Like, I get it, but genuinely try not to. Just try and find, like, again, without trying to sound like a hippie, just try and find your inner peace and where you feel comfortable and the things that are important to you, because you're never going to be that person. And I also read a book, I can never remember how to pronounce it, so I'm not going to butcher it. I'll probably just either link it in the description below or I'll pop it up here, the name of the book. But it essentially said, when you compare yourself to somebody else and you wish you had this thing that person had. So let's say I compare myself to this person, and they are loud and they're outgoing and they walk into a room and everybody knows they're there and they're like a big personality. If I compare myself to that person because that's a trait that I'm saying, oh, I want that, fine. But would I be prepared to trade everything I am for everything that person is? Probably not, because I don't know everything about them. I don't know what goes on in their head. I don't know what goes on in their home. I don't know these things. So the book was really saying, if you find yourself comparing yourself to other people, ask yourself that question. Are you willing to trade 100% of who you are for 100% of who they are? My answer, every time I thought about oh, this person does this thing really well, I would like to learn or grow from them. Would I trade my life? I wouldn't, because I know what's important to me. And also there's loads of unknowns. You don't know what skeletons other people have in their closet. So always remember that to a certain extent, what you see of people is what they're choosing for you to see. So don't compare yourself to other people, and just surround yourself with people that don't make you feel like you have to compare yourself to other people, that support you in your journey to feeling like you are enough and that what you have to contribute is enough. Because like I said, nobody's you and nobody can be you. So just focus on being the best version of yourself and being better than you were last week, last month and last year. And on that note, me and Biggie will bid you farewell.